Naruto Uzumaki shouldn't have become the Hokage. Not because he is undeserving of the position or he's a bad Hokage. There's no one who deserves this position more than Naruto. This is something that he also realized for himself when he was speaking to Kawaki about the village and his people in this manga panel that always gets taken out of context, in order to try and justify the notion that Boruto ruined Naruto's legacy. The way he saw the position of being Hokage was far from the reality of what he thought it would be. I believe that a lot of Naruto fans also have the same idealistic view of the Hokage. The Hokage seat is a position that requires more than just the strength and the will to protect the village. It goes along with so much more responsibility than just being as strong as the first 4 Hokage, who were the greatest shinobi of their respective times. For someone like Naruto, I believe that the position doesn't fit his character in other important ways and he's lacking in certain qualities that a Hokage or a leader of the village needs to have. I'm going to need all of us to take off the rose-colored glasses view that we had of what it means to be a Hokage. In basic terms, a Hokage is responsible for the security and welfare of the village. They are supposed to be strong enough to make sure that they can handle most of the threats that are geared towards the village, and also have the resolve and the will of fire to lay their lives for the sake of the village. But it isn't everything they need in order to qualify for this position. Measuring a candidate's worthiness for being Hokage is not as simple as looking at how powerful they are or how much resolve they have. There's many powerful shinobi that have come and gone that could have been given this position, but the Konoha advisors and the elders didn't think that they were good candidates to be chosen for this position. In a realistic view of what it means to be the Hokage, the person that's in this position is essentially responsible for not just the security of the village, but also the administrative side of it, for legislative duties to policy making and getting involved in politics, to service delivery and signing off on major developmental projects within the village, also attending important events that require the presence of the Hokage. These are some of the duties that comes along with being the Hokage, and it involves a lot of paperwork. They are even more prominent in an age where there are no shinobi wars or political instabilities between the great nations. To make an example of this using real-life scenarios, the Hokage is like a senator or mayor of a state, in this case Konoha, and the feudal lord would be the president or king of a country, which in this case would be the great nation of the Land of Fire. The other Hokage that have come before Naruto also had to do paperwork, but none of them were most often than not buried in paperwork and not taking action in battles and conflicts to protect the village. This is mainly because the Boruto era is in a different time than Naruto's era. The age of peace that was achieved through the great suffering and loss of Naruto's generation made the shinobi world more safer, to the point that there were almost no threats that require someone as powerful as Naruto or Sasuke to get involved, with the exception of Kara and the Otsutsuki. There are no more wars or major conflicts between the great nations. Therefore, Naruto wouldn't be required to get out of his office and leave the village to go on petty missions to deal with weak shinobi bandits. The most he will do when going out of his office is attending opening ceremonies for new buildings or getting on news interviews, and even helping the elderly carry heavy things, which shows you that Naruto still goes out of his way to help people in need because that is his nature. To reiterate this again, Naruto's era of Hokage revolves more around paperwork due to the peace that was brought into the shinobi world by Naruto's generation. Within that time of peace, Konoha became one of the most technologically advanced village in all of the great nations, only second to the Hidden Mist village in terms of development. This is how much advancement they could achieve within the 16 to 19 years of peace. It is unrealistic of us to expect that Naruto's world will still be the same as in the Shippuden times after 16 to 19 years of peace, when they now have more time to focus on the village's internal affairs and dedicate majority of their budget to improving the quality of life for all the villagers of Konoha. Especially when Konoha already had technology like wireless communication devices, fridges and microwaves, not to mention flat-screen TVs. The village was already on its way to advancing technologically, boosting development in Konoha and attracting elite figures and people seeking economic opportunities to the village. This is why Naruto is always tired and doesn't have good work-life balance, barely having any time for his family, let alone getting a good night's rest. Naruto has to manage a village of that size with only Shikamaru assisting him as his advisor. The village isn't as small as it was when his predecessors were in the Hokage position. The paperwork for managing the affairs of a village of Konoha's current size is bound to pile up. Not to mention that Naruto never had much academic talent or any interest in his studies when he was still in the Ninja Academy. It doesn't fit Naruto's character to be dealing with paperwork, but he doesn't have any other choice. It comes with the job. In fact, I'd argue that Shikamaru is the better candidate for this new kind of Hokage, which is why he was chosen to be the 8th Hokage. Even though Shikamaru was lazy when approaching his studies, he's more capable than Naruto in terms of academic performance, and that makes him more suited to deal with paperwork. He was also the advisor to Kakashi Hatake, the 6th Hokage, and also became an advisor to the 7th Hokage. Shikamaru has more experience dealing with the administrative side of the Hokage duties and the politics that are associated with the position. Even though he is the weakest Hokage in history, he was still chosen for the position, because it takes more than just strength to be a Hokage. There's more to it than that. The way Naruto is portrayed as the Hokage in Boruto is not an assassination of his character. It's a more realistic representation of the level of responsibility and seriousness that comes with being in his position, not the idealistic view that all of us have about being the Hokage. And I think that the way that Naruto talked about being the Hokage, and this being his dream that he had to attain no matter what gets in his way, also having us seen the Hokage before him being involved in more wars and more action, kind of played into that fanciful view we had of who the Hokage is. It isn't just Naruto's dream, it is also a huge responsibility. Naruto still has most of his best qualities. The only difference is that he doesn't get a chance to relax more and be himself, cause he is always in a professional setting. This is also one of the reasons why Jiraiya Sensei didn't want to be the Hokage. He knew that the position would require him to grow out of his old habits and become a more serious individual. And this is what ended up happening to Naruto, and even to Lady Tsunade. It doesn't mean that he is not the same Naruto anymore. He's usually himself when he's around Hinata and his family, especially when he isn't tired or he's gone on vacation with them. He has moments where he breaks character, like the time Shikamaru told him that Boruto made it into the finals of the Chunin exams. The Sarada and Sasuke Oshin Uchiha arc is a more perfect example that Naruto is still the same guy that he used to be as a teen. He just matured over the years. The position of the Hokage requires somebody who can think more with their head and not with their heart, in times where the situation demands it. An example of this is when Gaara was asking Naruto if he would be able to take Boruto's life should Momoshiki take over and make Boruto a threat to Konoha. Naruto couldn't answer the question with conviction at the time. The other Kage were asking him to take the life of his one and only son. Naruto didn't give a definite answer in that summit, but he later on went to have a heartwarming conversation with Boruto, where he made a promise to him that he would choose Boruto's life over the village, and even fight to ensure that nobody causes harm to Boruto. Hashirama Senju, on the other hand, has told us more than once that he would consider the village as more of a priority than any of his family members or his dear friends. He said, and I quote, "I shall not tolerate anyone who seeks to harm the village, be they friend, brother, or even my very own child." He said it with conviction while talking to Madara Uchiha. This is the main difference between the kind of Kage that Hashirama is compared to how Naruto thinks as a Kage. It isn't necessarily a bad thing in Naruto's case. It only shows that Naruto lacks certain qualities that are expected of a Kage. Hashirama Senju leads more with his head and Naruto thinks more with his heart. It puts him in a position where he can't make some difficult decisions or sacrifices for the sake of the village. Even though this is one of the best things about Naruto, his consideration for others is a sword with a double edge when you are the Hokage. A Hokage needs to be firm and decisive most of the time with their governance, and Naruto is always more considerate and patient with his leadership. Even though in some situations this is a good thing, in other situations it stops him from making necessary but tough choices. This doesn't mean that it's a bad trait for him to have as an individual. It only means that this is a trait that is making him lack the conviction to make decisions that won't make everyone happy, but they will guarantee the security and welfare of the village, no matter how cruel those decisions may be. My intention wasn't to say that nobody should criticize how Hokage Naruto is depicted in Boruto, or that you should like it. I am only trying to get more people to understand how Naruto ended up in this position. I believe that the more people understand how things ended up the way they are, the less that they are going to complain. Even though I don't think that he should have been the Hokage, just to make sure that fans still get to have their quote-unquote old Naruto back, and not because of anything to do with him not deserving the position. Naruto is still one of the best Hokage. We can even argue that he has done more for the village and more as a shinobi than the previous Kage, before he even officially became a Hokage himself. Give me your thoughts down in the comment section so we can get a discussion going, and subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed the video.